History taught us to look in one direction. When people talk about power, empires, and dominance, they usually point to the same familiar places. Africa had great empires, Europe had kings, Asia had dynasties. But history quietly removed something important. Women who ruled without permission, women who fought without crowns, women who terrified men in power. This is not an African story, and yet it belongs beside African empires. Because just like Africa's warrior queens, one woman in Central Asia proved that power was never owned by one continent. Her name was Khutulun. She was not a wife. She was not a symbol. She was not protected by men. She was a Mongol princess who broke warriors, defeated champions, and forced emperors to negotiate with her strength. And history almost erased her. African empires were built on strength, discipline, and leadership, not myths. So was the Mongol Empire. Africa had queens like Amanirenas who fought Rome. The Mongols had Khutulun who wrestled the strongest men alive. Africa respected power earned in battle. So did the Mongols. This story is not about geography. It is about how real power looks before history edits it. And that is why Khutulun stands beside African empires, not outside them. Khutulun was born in the 13th century, at the peak of the Mongol Empire. This was not a small kingdom. The Mongol Empire was the largest land empire the world has ever seen. It stretched from China to Eastern Europe. Cities fell, armies collapsed, kings surrendered. This was a world where survival belonged to the strong. Khutulun was born into this world as royalty, but royalty meant nothing without strength. Among the Mongols, blood alone did not command respect. Power had to be proven every day. Khutulun was a direct descendant of Genghis Khan, the man who changed world history through conquest. Genghis Khan did not create a soft legacy. He created a culture where strength, loyalty, and fear decided leadership. Khutulun's father, Khutulun Khan, was a powerful ruler and military commander. He controlled large territories and constantly challenged the authority of the Great Khan in China. Khutulun did not grow up watching politics from a palace. She grew up watching war. In most empires, royal daughters were trained to obey. Khutulun was trained to fight. She learned how to ride horses before she learned court manners. She learned how to shoot arrows before she learned diplomacy. She trained with soldiers. She trained with generals. She trained with men who had survived real battlefields. And she was better than them. This was not tolerated because she was a woman. It was accepted because she was Mongol. Among the Mongols, leadership was not inherited quietly. A leader had to command fear and loyalty. Khutulun did both. She rode into battle beside her father. She led troops. She rescued soldiers from enemy lines. Chroniclers wrote that she could ride faster than any man and strike with unmatched force. She was not symbolic. She was operational. Khutulun became famous for one rule that terrified men. She refused to marry any man who could not defeat her in wrestling. This was not ceremonial wrestling. This was Mongol wrestling, a brutal test of strength, balance, and endurance. Her rule was simple. If a man wanted her hand, he had to defeat her. If he lost, he paid her with horses. Many tried. None succeeded. Khutulun did not wrestle in private. She wrestled in front of crowds, nobles, warriors, foreign visitors. Men who thought they were strong enough to claim a princess were thrown to the ground, over and over and over again. She reportedly won thousands of horses from defeated challengers. This was not entertainment. This was humiliation for men who underestimated her. Men kept challenging Khutulun because power attracts arrogance. They believed strength belonged to them by birth. Khutulun proved strength belonged to those who earned it. Every defeat exposed the lie that masculinity guaranteed dominance, and every victory made her more dangerous to traditional power structures. Khutulun was not just strong, she was politically dangerous. She was close to her father. She influenced decisions. She advised on military campaigns. Some sources suggest Kaidu wanted Khutulun to succeed him as ruler. That was unacceptable to many men. Not because she was weak, because she was too strong. Empires fear women who do not ask for permission. Khutulun did not need approval. She had loyalty. She had victories. She had the people's respect. That combination terrified elites who survived on tradition, not ability. Just like African queens who faced resistance from their own courts, Khutulun faced quiet opposition. When strength could not defeat her, rumors were used. Some historians later tried to reduce her legacy to scandal. They spoke more about her personal life than her military achievements. This tactic was not new. It was used against powerful women across Africa, Asia, and Europe. Erase their authority, replace it with gossip. Even Marco Polo wrote about Khutulun. He described her as unmatched in strength and courage. He did not describe her as delicate. He described her as feared. That alone tells us how unusual her power was in a world dominated by men. Khutulun's power did not come from beauty. It did not come from marriage. It did not come from titles. It came from ability. The same way African empires respected leaders who could protect their people and defeat enemies. Strength before ceremony. Results before tradition. After her death, Khutulun's story slowly faded, not because she failed, but because her existence challenged the version of history many wanted to tell. A woman who did not need men, a princess who rejected political marriage, a warrior who dominated public arenas. That story was dangerous, so history softened it. Khutulun was not an exception. She was proof. Proof that women ruled empires through strength long before modern conversations about equality. Africa had them. Asia had them. History just chose not to amplify them. When you study African empires deeply, you see the same pattern. Women erased, power minimized, strength reframed as myth. Khutulun belongs in this conversation because her story exposes a global pattern of historical silence. Khutulun's rise was undeniable, but power always creates enemies. How politics turned against her, why she never became ruler, how history tried to bury her legacy, and what her story teaches us about empire, power, and forgotten rulers.
The political storm against Khutulun. Despite her battlefield successes, Khutulun faced growing opposition within the Mongol elite. Her father, Kaidu, was a powerful ruler, but many feared Khutulun's influence would upset the traditional order. Male nobles resented a woman who challenged their authority. Whispers and plots began to spread, aimed at limiting her power and forcing her into a political marriage. Marriage in the Mongol world was rarely about love. It was about alliances, control, and consolidating power. Khutulun's refusal to marry any man who could not defeat her disrupted these plans. She threatened the way power was traded and secured among the elite. Her independence was a danger to the male-dominated system. According to legend, Khutulun's last wrestling challenge ended differently. She finally accepted a suitor, but only on her terms. This was not surrender. She agreed to marry a man who matched her strength, not out of weakness, but respect. Many sources debate if Khutulun ever officially ruled the Mongol Empire or her father's territories. Some say she was designated heir. Others say politics prevented it. What matters more is what she represented: a female warrior who broke the mold, a leader who demanded respect on her terms, a symbol of power outside traditional gender roles. Khutulun's story survived in oral traditions, forgotten texts, and the accounts of travelers like Marco Polo. Yet mainstream history often erased her or reduced her to myth. Why? Because acknowledging her power meant challenging centuries of male-dominated narratives. Khutulun's story mirrors those of African queens like Nzinga of Ndongo or Amanirenas of Kush. All faced patriarchal opposition. All fought to protect their people. All risked their lives in battle. These women symbolize a shared truth: strength and leadership have no gender. Khutulun's life challenges us to rethink history. Whose stories have been left out? Whose power have we ignored? Her example inspires not only Africans, but anyone seeking to understand real leadership. In today's world, where gender equality is still a battle, Khutulun reminds us: power is earned, not given. Respect is commanded, not inherited. History is written by those who win, but truth is bigger than history books. By remembering Khutulun and other warrior queens, we reclaim the lessons erased by time. Leadership is about courage. Strength is about resilience. Empires are built more than kings and conquerors. Khutulun's story crosses continents and centuries. It connects Africa to Asia, the past to the present. It proves empires and powerful women existed everywhere, and that history is richer when we listen to all voices. If you want to learn more about forgotten empires and powerful rulers, subscribe and join the journey. History is waiting to be rewritten. Thank you for watching this deep dive into Khutulun's story. Remember, true power knows no borders, no gender, and no limits. Stay curious, stay strong.